Why does digital marketing seem so easy for other people and yet so hard for us? My guest and I are talking about that and so much more. Welcome back. If you're new here, I help female entrepreneurs use Pinterest to market their business effectively and simply. And if that sounds like something that you're interested, along with all of the marketing guests that I bring onto this show, definitely subscribe, whether on YouTube or my podcast, so that you're notified when we release a new interview. Today, you guys, I am so excited to be chatting with Kristen Day of Affinity. Kristen works with non-techie business owners who are disheartened, confused, irritated, or I'll put in parentheses, just plain mad. That's for me. Trying to figure out how to create a converting online presence. She has helped entrepreneurs over 20 industries eliminate their frustration and overwhelm by bringing custom tailored websites, omni-channel social media strategies, and streamlined processes that they can actually use with her clear as day formula. By the way, that's a great name. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you so much, Jen, for having me. I just so appreciate you letting me chat with you, and I'm looking so forward to this conversation. I love this podcast. It is amazing, and just really appreciate all of the amazing things you're helping women do. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm pretty lucky to be able to just chat with friends and have it go out there and help other people. It's a passion of mine to make sure that small business owners actually market their business. We spend so much time on social media and not enough time actually working our business. So it's a joy for me too. All right. I always start with this sort of simple one, but I think it's so important to find out the windy routes that people take to the business that they're currently in. So why don't you tell me about your business and how you got started?
Yeah, so my business's name is Affinity Media, and it got started many years before it was actually made, right? So we moved around a lot when I was straight out of college, my husband and I, and each time we moved, I had to get a new job because remote work was just really unheard of at the time. And so we moved from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. And it was a really great adventure. But the first job that I was able to pick up was building an intranet for a bank. And I had never touched a website in my life. And this wonderful, amazing woman took a chance on me and said, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. And so I got to really have on the job training and learn all the ins and outs of building websites. And then we moved again. And I was fortunate enough to be given a job doing social media strategy. And I was hired to do data analytics, but just through the nature of the work, I ended up working on a lot of different projects, most of which having to do with like social media ads and email marketing and just every single marketing section of the business. And then finally, right before that ended, I was working in the data analytics space. So Google Analytics and Tag Manager and like all those words, SEO, that you hear thrown around all the time. I got to do that as well. And so what I noticed about that particular job was the way that the clients were interacting with the person who had employed me. And it was really not sitting well with me because what happened a lot of the time was the company would sign a new client and they would get them a little bit roped into long contracts, 2 3 year contracts. They would promise them the moon and the sun and the grass in between, right? And then they wouldn't really be able to deliver, or it just was not, the deliverable didn't match the expectation. And I got asked a lot by those clients if I could teach them how to run their own stuff and if I could help them understand what was happening. And I wanted to do that, but I got in trouble for being in that position, because I would teach them and then they would learn and then they would get mad. So that just eventually that didn't work out very well for anybody. But ultimately, I really wanted to create a space where business owners can have autonomy in their own business in the digital marketing space, because it's kind of an industry that holds things a little bit close to the vest, and it's very confusing for people who aren't familiar with the language and familiar with the nuances of it. So it just felt better to be in a space where I could teach people and educate them and make them feel comfortable and confident in their own space, rather than saying, no, you're not allowed to learn that. You have to pay me to keep it running, right? So that's how my business was born.
Amazing. Really good. Okay. I know that this is an area of expertise for you. Can you share a few tips on creating a digital space that aligns with your values, but doesn't take up all your time? That sounds like a hard thing to solve.
And it's a great question, Jen. I think the biggest tips I would say are block out time, dedicate the time to think about why you started your business in the first place. If you spend one day of your month and you make sure that the things that you're talking about in your marketing strategy align with why you started a business in the first place, you will stay aligned with your content, and you will dedicate that time to making sure you're on point all the time. And one tip that I give people when they're, especially if they're talking about social media strategy, I always ask, write down a list of what drives you insane about your industry. And so for me, right, it has to do with when people, they keep that management style. They force people to do that management style with them because they're afraid to let go of that customer. That drives me nuts. I can talk about that for hours and hours and hours a day. So my content, when I talk about those topics, it aligns with what I'm offering, and I think that's a really good tip. So when in your industry just drives you up a wall, and what do you want to change? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, exactly. And I missed this at the beginning, but I've had people ask this of me, so I want to hear what you have to say. What is digital marketing, right? We always had that term marketing, and now suddenly we see digital marketing, email marketing, da 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 da. So what is digital marketing?
Digital marketing, I would describe it as any online touch point that your business has with a potential customer. So digital means online. That is anything from your website to your social media, to your email marketing, to your Pinterest platform, right? Anywhere online that a customer can encounter you that would be in the scope of digital marketing. And that's the digital side. And the marketing side is your voice staying true to your values? Is your brand consistently showing up in the way that you want it to, right? That's like that marketing side. Anytime a potential customer encounters your business online, are they receiving the same messages?
That's good. That's really good. That was one of the best descriptions I've heard. Why does having an online presence beyond social media, why is that crucial for long-term success for people, business owners?
Yeah, it's such an important question, Jen, because we, especially new entrepreneurs, I think they think social media is kind of the end all be all, and you can just really get out there. I want to go viral. I have to make this look beautiful. All these things, you hear all those things. And social media is important, but for the longevity of a business, understanding that social media is the place where people are getting acquainted with you And understanding that it's kind of like, I've heard this described a lot. I think it's a good description. It's kind of like going on a first date, you know, and if you never went on a second date, you'd never see that person again, right? We should kind of think of social media as the first date. We should think of it as the place where people first encounter us. And for having a longer term relationship with that person, we need to build out foundational material on the back end of social media, including email lists and ads and websites, and especially any type of CRMs, anything like that.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Um, So, the big question that we started this whole thing off with, why does digital marketing or the digital marketing side of business appear to be so easy when it's done by other people, but feel so frustrating when we are doing it? Do you even have an answer to that?
I do have an answer to that.
Okay, that's a
And
hard one.
it is a hard one. And I think people in the digital marketing space, sometimes they can even be a little narrow-minded when it comes to this as well. My experience with every single aspect of digital marketing gives me a little bit of a unique perspective on being able to answer this question. So I told you I do websites and marketing funnels and email marketing and social media. So we've all seen the wheel of content or the wheel of marketing where customer enters social media and then the next step is they go to your website and then they get the freebie and they get, all these things and then
That
they get
client journey through marketing.
current, yeah, that wheel, right? So the reason that we feel like digital marketing should be easy, but it feels so complicated is we only see that wheel all the time. We're only shown one very simple wheel. No one ever shows us the insanely complicated map of how to make that wheel turn. They don't show you the integration on the back end. They don't show you how to connect your website to your social media, to your email list. They don't show you how to even set up an automation sequence to deliver your free resource to your clients. And so we kind of get in this trap of, God, everyone makes this look so easy. This wheel, am I dumb? Am I stupid? Am I just not good at this? That's absolutely not true. You just have not been experienced in the map that makes the wheel turn. And so I think it really does entrepreneurs a very large disservice to expect them to know all of these things and to say, just offer a free resource and it'll be fine.
But then what do I do with it? How do I
Let's
deliver it? How do I not spend every hour just delivering free stuff? I agree with you. I agree. I agree. And figuring out a system, not just a marketing system that everyone else is using, but a marketing system that works for you and your business.
and that you
Everybody works differently.
understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that works like with your learning style. And it is unfortunate that we expect people to know so much with so little transparency about what it takes to get it to go. And that's why I call it a digital ecosystem. Like that really, I think that describes it better. Because if you think of an ecosystem, these little baby components make all the difference for that ecosystem to flourish and to thrive. And your digital marketing is the same. You just don't see it, right? Because you're not.
Well, and if it's done properly, the client will never see
They never see it.
all the magic. That's like behind the curtain, right? Of Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz. I
Yeah.
totally agree. So, what do you think is one of the number one mistakes that people make when they first get started on the digital side of their business?
I personally think that the biggest mistake people make when they are first starting is investing in the wrong things.
Hallelujah. I am so right with you on that.
Because they don't know what they need and they're just trying to get
They don't know
started.
what they don't know.
Nope, exactly. And it's really frustrating to watch it happen, to be quite frank, because you feel so terrible when they get to you and they explain. I had a person just a couple weeks ago, they were telling me this harrowing story of their experience in the digital industry and their digital marketing. And it puts a really bad taste in people's mouths. And it makes it really hard for people to enjoy the digital space, which is a shame because it's a great space and it's very fun. But because people make that mistake when they're first getting out of the gate, they think it's a waste of money and a waste of time.
And it takes work. Like it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
Like I don't care how many calls to action that says easy, free, fast, blah 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 blah. It's just going to take work, and sadly it's an integral component of running a business so that you have a pipeline of leads continuing to come in. So often I see people take their foot off that marketing gas because they're so busy with client work. And then when they're done with the client work, they're wondering where are all their leads? Well, when you're not marketing, it's the message isn't getting out there, right?
Right.
Um, can you share a few questions to ask when you're hiring a digital service provider to really set yourself up for success the first time?
Yes, that is a great question. I will share three. I think three is a good
Good number. I love 3.
The first question that you should ask any person that you are going to hire is, do you offer training on the system that you are building? And I think that this is a really great question. And it's not because you don't want to use that person to help you in the future. It is because for whatever reason, you need to use that system yourself. You will have a much better relationship with that service provider if you are not constantly asking them, later down the road, I just need you to take 2 minutes to do this one thing, or I just need you to do that. Or let's say you get into a situation where, God forbid, you can't afford the management.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to continue working with that person and they have not provided you the training, you really can get into some trouble spots because now you have a full blown system that you have no idea how to use, or your team doesn't know how to use. And
Or a team member learns it and leaves, and then you
leaves.
don't know how
Yep,
to do.
exactly. Yeah, we've been there before. That was yep. So that all of those things, right? So ask your person when they're building you a system, do you offer training on this? And can it be recorded? Can I look at it later? And then the second tip that I would ask someone is, do you use this yourself? Or have you used this yourself?
That's a
Because
good one. I
yeah.
don't know that I don't sometimes we think because they're an expert in the industry that they do. So I don't know that many people would have even ask. That's a really good one.
Yeah, so I build on a lot of different platforms, but I have one that I prefer, right? Because
Or
it is the one that I use personally. So it doesn't mean that you can't hire someone
oh
who doesn't
sure,
use
for
that
sure, for
platform.
sure.
But I would encourage you to just, that simple question will give you a lot of insight into what to expect, so to speak.
I agree. And the third?
The third question that I generally would ask is, what happens to my data when you go away?
Hmm.
So most of the time, and this is specifically when you are working with web developers, SEO professionals, and ads people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give the example for website developers. Most website developers will set up a program and they own the rights to your code or a lot of people don't know that. Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm. So
Ah,
if you work with a big agency or you work with a large company, you can get into some trouble spots if they don't want to manage your website or you don't want them to manage your website. You have to understand who owns that data and who really has full control. So if someone says, well, you'll just pay
read
us,
the small print in the contract.
that's right. Because if someone says, well, we'll build you your website, but it's under our name or we're going to own the rights to that, we'll buy the domain for you, right? That is a really big red flag to say if you ever wanted to leave that company, maybe you don't even want to leave that company. Maybe that company goes under, it goes bankrupt or gets bought
Whatever.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you need to understand where does the ownership of what I am purchasing lie.
That's really good. I, I have a similar sort of example of that in my Pinterest management business, our agency. I require my clients to have a tailwind, or there's multiple third party platforms, but I have had many clients say, well, can you just go ahead and do that, the problem, and then bill me. But the problem is that when it's done, it's me, I own it, it's in my name, and I don't want any bad taste in the mouths of people that have worked with me, so I always have them do it. And yes, I have videos showing them how to like sign up for it and all that kind of stuff, because I know it could be a pain. And when you outsource something, you're paying money so that you don't have to go through the headache. However, you have to think miles down the road. As your business grows faster, you want to make sure that you are the main signer, the person that signed up, the person that has those passwords and everything. So that is a really, really, really good, all those questions are great, but that one is really good as well. If someone has a really limited budget, I'm thinking a first time entrepreneur just jumping into the business, how should they prioritize where to invest in digital marketing? In other words, what will be the best sort of bang for their buck?
This is up for debate, but I'll tell you my opinion.
Yes, yes. A lot of people are going to have opinions on this, but definitely you're the guest. You get to have your opinion.
Oh, yes, I think that if you are on a very, very limited budget, the absolute best bang for your buck is professional photography.
As a professional brand photographer, I'm so excited about that.
The reason that I say this
Uh-huh.
is because your photography, it is to get a really good professional photographer is expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as expensive as doing a full build on a website or doing a full build out of a brand or spending
Yes.
thousands of dollars on ads that you're
Yes.
not strategized for yet, right? But what it does do is it gives you a very clean, professional, just like very, very sleek look. And a 10, 15, even 20 professional photos can make a free one-page templated website look like $1,000,000.
Oh, I can't tell you how much I agree with you on that. I think it's even twofold. I think number one, it gives the impression of a big business, right? It gives you
Yes.
that professional, polished look.
Yes.
But from all the clients that I work with on my branding photography side, they feel they feel more apt to step into that actual position. The
Right.
confidence boost of having a professional brand shoot, and then you get these pictures delivered, you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like it really does give you, especially, I always tell people, if you are having like that crisis that we all kind of had, like, am I enough? Can I do this? Am I worthy? Like that sadly happens multiple times pretty much through your entrepreneur business. It's typically popping up right before a big move or a big change or a big pivot, which of course is how we grow our businesses, right? You feel uncomfortable, it typically leads to something great. But when you do something like this, it really gives you that confidence to show up on social media, to show up in marketing. In fact, we want to share these pictures because they're probably some of the best pictures that we've had of ourselves, right? And we want to share them, market your business with them. So I would really agree with you. And then, that next step, as you get clients, to invest in your website, I think is really critical as well. We can make websites all day long, but someone who's a professional sort of website designer, they know more things than we're going to know, right? As an entrepreneur, we wear all these hats of CEO and then accountant and then like all these hats. In terms of a website, let's give it over to the professionals.
And I just really quick, I will not belabor this point, but I actually think that it's very important to invest in a branding professional
branding even before the website.
before the
For,
website. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And I say that because and I do, I love, it's obviously what I love to do. I love working
Yes.
on websites, but I would say that the websites that have a brand before the website is built, they speak so well to that person's ideal client, their dream client, that they really do, quite frankly, bring in a better result for that person than if you pay a lot of money to build a website that hasn't been branded before. So I do think that's important.
Yeah, and I know you would do this because I know you, but I feel like website builders, if a client comes to them confused, it is in their best interest to refer them to work with a branding person first. Because I have a client who did a whole website build and she wasn't super clear on what she wanted to do. It was very early on in her business. And a year later, she had to invest all over again, but the websites are like night and day. The new website, after working with a brand specialist, it was such a clear path for a client to take that you almost felt bad not working with that person, not working with her. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Where the original website, it was like, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this and I speak to everyone. Where websites really need to, we want our ideal clients to pop on a website and go, that's me. That's me. I agree. Where do I sign up? Like, that's ideal, right? Oh my gosh, this is so good. What three things have helped you grow your business? And I always ask this of all my guests because these are the little tips and tricks that really help people that are listening in or watching the video. This could be tools, advice you got. It could be any education. It could be anything. But what three things would you attribute as the things that helped you the most in growing your business?
I love this question, Jen. I think it's such a great question.
Because these are the answers that I want to hear when I'm listening to podcasts.
Yes, absolutely. The number one thing that I would say is get a coach, um, which is a kind of a weird one. I feel like I didn't hear that from a lot of people when even when I was first starting out. A friend of mine actually told me that, and it took 2 years in my own business for anyone to say you need a business coach. I didn't even know business coaches were a thing. And as soon as I started looking and I found the right one, it took me a long time to find the right one, but I did find her eventually. And that was an absolute game changer for me. It was night and day difference. And in fact, I was telling someone the other day, I think that had I not done that step, I don't even know if I would be in business today. I'm not sure what that would look like. It certainly wouldn't look like the
It
business
would
that I
be,
have.
it certainly would have been harder and probably not as effective and probably take more time.
Yes.
I look at coaches, even group coaching, if you aren't at a position to pay for a one-on-one coach, but coaching helps you get real clear, real fast on not only the people that you want to work with, but also the niching down that needs to take place that is always super, super painful, because you think I can work with everyone, and we can work with everyone, but our marketing needs to speak with one person, our ideal client. So
I
that's
could
a
not
good
agree
one.
more. Yep.
That's a good one. Number one was so far the best.
Number two, I think, is it's okay to know that your friends may not understand what you do.
Friends slash family.
Friends slash family. That
I
is,
hear that. I'm pretty fortunate, but so many business owners are not.
yes. And that is really normal. I would say when you're in the entrepreneurial space, I'll give the perfect example. I was a couple of years ago, I'll never forget this. I was at a dinner with our friends. We had just met my husband. We went to like a work function, and everyone, that's the first thing out of someone's mouth is, well, what do you do? And well, what do you do? And, so I kept getting asked that question. And I said, why I own a business, right? And at the time, I wasn't saying it very confidently. And they didn't know how to react. Literally, they just either like walked
Cool.
away or like, oh, that's nice, like nobody knows what to say. And it can feel a little awkward when people don't know how to react to you. But understand that even though some people won't get it, they won't know what to say, they won't understand what it's like and all these things. That should never stop you from helping people with the things that you do. And it's really important to keep going in that regard because you're in business to help people, or I think generally speaking, we all are. And you just can't let other people's reactions stop you from doing what you were born to do.
Amen. That's a really good. I don't know which is first. That's how good that one is. All right. And the third?
And the third one, trying to think of like a tangible tool.
What's something you use on a
Schedulers.
daily basis?
Do what?
What I was going to ask, what do you use? What tool do you use on a daily basis?
Yeah, post schedulers.
Those
Post
are
schedulers. They are game changers. I automate. That's
okay.
what I
That's the
say.
third. Automate.
Automate. That's right.
I.e. with a third party scheduler. Yes.
Yep. With third party schedulers, automate with a team, automate with help. Do not try. You will try to do
Oh, you're
everything
for sure.
yourself
For
when
sure.
you're first starting out, but look for tools that can help you do things in advance, organize yourself. I really like post schedulers because they allow you to like plan out your social media. And so instead of thinking, oh crap, I have to post today, you plan
And
it
then
for
it's not done well.
yeah, and then it's not done well because it's rushed and you just kind of slap something up there. So I use post schedulers all the time to plan out months and months and months and months worth of content. So if you're just starting out, try posting, like scheduling your posts for 1 week, right? Just try it. Just see if you can write that content for a week and see how relieving or how much relief you
Yes.
feel when
Yes.
you're not worried about, do I have to post today?
Well, and Facebook and Pinterest have in-platform schedulers.
Yep,
They don't have the bells and whistles, but they also are free.
they're free.
So like, why not? And
They're free.
it comes across more well thought out. So for
Mm-hmm.
instance, especially if you're doing posts here, there, and everywhere, you're kind of turning which way every 5 seconds. Where if you do a whole week's worth of posts, you can really have a theme or a story that takes people from through a process and things like that. So I think that's brilliant. All three of those are really, really good. Well, before we get to the yummy gift that Kristen is so generously sharing with everyone today, tell the listeners, because I often have people sending me messages asking questions and things about services. So I always like to ask my guests at the end of the podcast, specifically what services do they offer, so that in case you were thinking, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and I need help with that, then they know what you have to offer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate it. So I design and build done for you websites that you can use. I do train on how to use all the things. So I do done for you websites. I do social media strategies where we really teach you how to automate those things, right? Up to 3 to 6 months at a time. I also do marketing funnel work. So that automation that we talked about that people don't tell you about, right? I do that for email marketing. And if you're doing a launch sequence, I help people set up those automated messages and their free resources and all of that good happy
Amazing.
stuff.
Amazing. And she is extraordinary at what she does. I highly recommend her, just to put it out there in the atmosphere. Kristen has brought us some free tools. So tell everyone what is in, we'll provide this link underneath, of course, this information. But tell everyone what exactly it's included.
Sure. So I have a whole page full of goodies, and it includes a digital systems checklist. So
Ooh.
if you are wondering what does go in all of this stuff, I have a checklist for you to help you understand every single component that you would want. And then I also have those photos. So a lot of people don't know, well, what photos go on a website. So I have a photography checklist that,
That's so good.
that you can get, and it will tell you exactly all of the photos to get, right, to go on a website, right? If you're building it yourself, if you're working with a designer, anything like that. So
So good. I want to thank you so much for your valuable advice and your time today, because I know how busy you are working with clients. What is the best way to get in contact with you in case anyone wants to take this conversation further? I'll be including all your links below, but what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
actually, the best way right now is LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm really loving LinkedIn. So you can just
How would
search.
they search for? I will include LinkedIn. I have your LinkedIn link. So LinkedIn is the best way. It will be below for you to be able to make that connection with her. Now, this is really important. I always say this, and I know it's ad nauseum, but I'm going to keep saying it. Take the information that you got here, take one or two things that you have heard that you like or that you want to implement, and put some time on your calendar to implement them next week or today or tomorrow. Because I feel like listening to podcasts, I love doing it, but I need to work myself on implementing these great ideas that I hear when I'm on my walk. And by the time I get home, I haven't put it on my calendar to do. So definitely go do that. You can find all of Kristen's information below. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you, Kristen. Bye.
Thank you, Jen.